Good evening, everyone. Thank you all for joining in today evening for this orientation program for the Certified Internal Auditor Certification course. I am Arpit Garg. Before we get into the orientation program, a warm welcome from my side and the VG Learning Destination side to all the fellow members and the students who are looking forward to pursue and make their career in the internal audit and risk advisory domain and pursue this amazing course called Certified Internal Auditor. Before we begin, my good wishes to all of you and hope you are doing a good, you are staying in the good health and your family is doing well in this pandemic time. I will set the context of today's orientation program by going to the next slide, which is agenda, where we will be talking what we are going to cover today. Okay, so we start with introduction. There will be two types of introduction that we're going to do. One is I will be talking about myself. I would request if a couple of fellow members and students who have enrolled for this session and who are planning to enroll can come up and talk about themselves, like your name, the organization you're working with, number of years of experience you have, and why do you want to pursue your course in CIA? Like, what is your expectation of this entire program? So these are the four questions. My request is if a couple of fellow members will come up and say, it will be great for other co-peers and other students and colleagues to know that who are they studying with. See, this is a completely different course as compared to a exam-oriented course, because here we have a lot of practical learnings along with the certification program. So as I said, so we'll have two sort of introductions. One is for the people introduction, which will be me and you introducing about yourselves. The second will be the brief about CIA program, a quick introduction about CIA program. We'll be going to the next slide, which is understanding the complete CIA program part-wise. So it has three parts. We'll understand what does it have in all three parts. We will understand the registration process with IIA for CIA certification, what CIA Part 1 covers, the glimpse software and the study material you will be getting to complete the CIA program, what you will be referring to for your studies, what will be our approach during the study sessions, the CIA Part 1 schedule, that what is the schedule of the class, understanding the IPPF framework. So we'll be covering one topic, which is understanding the IPPF framework, and then we'll give you the coordinates and how you can get in touch to pursue and enroll for this sessions and enroll for this entire program to pursue the CIA program. I hope you all are clear. Is that clear? Can anyone say, is it audible? Great. So to start with, guys, I am Arpit Garg. I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I qualified back in November 2014. I hope you all have seen my introductory session that we have given on the CIA program. I think it's just a 25 minutes video which is uploaded on the VG Learning Destination YouTube channel. My recommendation is please go through that. It has very critical components of the entire CIA program. I am Arpit Garg. As I said, I'm a qualified chartered accountant. I have been working with different industries and sectors. I have about 10 years of experience in the risk advisory domain. I was earlier associated with EY India as a senior consultant, before which I was with Genpact Enterprises Consulting for a couple of years, like 3.5, 4 years. And before which I did my internship from SNB, Sahani Natarajan in Behel. From the last 2.5 years, I am running my own risk consulting firm in the name of Riskman Consulting. So that's briefly about my 10 years of experience across different consulting firms. I have worked across different sector, folks, from EPC industry to the textile manufacturing industry. More than 10 industries, sectors I have worked upon. I've worked on more than 45 plus clients working in different geographies. When I say that, I'm just not trying to, I'm trying to tell that I carry so much of experience. I'm trying to tell that this program will help you to practically get exposure to different industry sectors. If you are working in a consulting environment, even if you are in a specific industry, you will get to learn a lot. So you have widespread scope in joining any of the industry. I think every organization today will have risk managers and internal auditors as part of the team. So widespread scope in India, across the world, a huge scope to make your career in. With that, I will give the forum to a couple of fellow members who would like to come up and briefly introduce about themselves. I encourage everyone to make this session, even the orientation program, much in participative form. You can unmute yourself, come up and see. Take this opportunity not only to learn the CIA program, but to co-peer yourself with co-peer and network with other students. Earlier, when we used to do the classroom trainings, we used to get connected with so many friends and colleagues, right? Today, whom we are working with and whom we are connected with. Considering this is a virtual session, please don't think it as since it's a live session, we should take this opportunity to make this session more and more interactive, more participative, and let know each other. Let know each other, so that we know that who are the people, what is sort of experience you bring in, what is the different organization you're working with. Someone on any day will have any query, can at least reach out to each other. So I think take the maximum out of it, not only from studies and examination point of view, but also from practical learning point of view, connecting point of view, and everything. So over to you guys. Next 5 minutes, a quick introduction about yourself, the name, designation, name, number of years of experience, um, your reason for joining the CIA program. Over to you guys. So I'm going first with Prateek.
Yeah, hi Arpit, hi everyone. My name is CA Pratik Vasa. I qualified my chartered accountancy course in November 2018, and I'm also a BCom graduate done from University of Mumbai. I am basically Mumbai based. Currently, I am working as a senior consultant with A&B Global. I am into TMT vertical, and overall, I am having 6 years of experience apart from my articleship. And prior to joining A&B, I was working with Mazars India, BDO, and Protivity, and I did my articleship from Shelan Associates, wherein I, like for last 6 years, I'm into risk advisory services. And reason for joining CI is basically to boost my career more into CI and understand more about the internal audits and provide good connect with client as a business partner and help them to gain any, like, to give them, apart from traditional observation, give them at least from value addition. So that's the more objective of joining as a to go for certification. Thank you, Arpit. Arpit, you are on mic in mute, not able to hear.
Wonderful, Prateek. Thank you so much for being here. We are happy to have you in the session series.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, please go ahead. The next one, please.
My name is Himanshu. I am associated with Genpact Enterprises Consulting. Earlier, I was associated with ACCA Solutions and in Shree Cement Limited. I have an experience of around 3 years in internal audit profile. And also, I'm a semi-qualified CA and MBA Finance. To join CIA, basic purpose is to gain more understanding about the processes and risk governance. And to second thing is to increase my leadership skills as well. This is the basic purpose of joining CIA. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Himanshu. Happy to have you. Yeah. Can we go to the next? Yeah, Vijaya, Charan, anyone?
Yep. Yeah, I'll go now. I'm Vijaya. I'm a chartered accountant. I have qualified in 2002, so it's been a long journey. Initial first 4 or 5 years, I was working with CA companies, 5 years with Genpact, and 10 years with the MNC by name Harsco. I'm leading a financial services team and also the business controls, but still, I want to upskill myself. Okay.
Wonderful.
And I'm not going to stop with the CIA. I'll do further more courses, I think. So, I mean, I have seen guys here saying, 2018, 2002, something like that. But yeah, I mean, I definitely want to learn and, gain more qualifications, which will help any individual, I believe. So that is the reason I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah.
To let you know also, Vijay, a lot of time when we have done batch sessions, we have seen widespread experience. So and this is the benefit of having senior members also in this sessions. What happens is there are a lot of queries where when we do the sessions and make it more interactive, we can pitch in the senior folks who have widespread experience. In the last sessions, there were people from like CAG, people from like the Protivity director and so on and so forth. So what happens is we bring in more experience, talk a more detail about the standards and the code of ethics, which is very, very core and very, very important for us as a professional to know. So I think we are great to have you here. And plus, at the same time, I must say, learning that never stops. So, of course, it's a very good thought that continue to pursue different certifications and continue to learn in the profession. I think that's the most beautiful thing to be a professional.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Vijay, once again.
Yeah. Thank you.
Please go ahead, Charan.
Yeah, hi. My name is Charan. I'm a qualified cost accountant and also semi-qualified chartered accountant. I've qualified in 2017. I have a 3 years of work experience in internal audits and also statutory audits. The main thing to join CIA is only one thing: to enhance my knowledge in internal auditing and boost up my career into that field. So thank you so much.
Wonderful, Charan.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Can we have Namita?
Hello.
Hi, Namita.
Hey, hi. So I'm based out in Bangalore and I'm currently working in Accenture right now. Previously, I was a part of AIG. And since now we are in the acquisition, I'm a part of Accenture and I'm working in financial controls division. So wanted to upskill myself because I'm a graduate and my knowledge about audits and controls is quite limited and which is very much needed for my work. So upskilling myself and also this will be a level up in my career. So that is the reason I've enrolled for this course. Thank
Wonderful, Namita. Thank you for joining in. Yeah.
you. Thank you.
Can we have Nirvana, Sheetal or Vishal? Yeah, any one of them.
Yeah, hello, I am Nirvana. I qualified in November 2018. I'm working with Deloitte right now, but I'll move with EY from 17th May.
Wonderful.
Yeah, I'm in business consulting risk division, and the reason for joining is just to upskill myself because I think it will help me on my day-to-day work. So that's the reason why I'm here.
Wonderful, wonderful. Can we have the next one, please?
Hi, am I audible?
Yes,
Hi,
Vishal.
my name is Vishal. I hope all of you are doing with good health. I qualified my chartered accountant in 2012. I've been working as an internal auditor since last 7 years. Now I'm based in Chhattisgarh and I'm working as an internal auditor in the same company. And I want to join CIA to boost up my professional career and bring more skill in my work.
Wonderful.
And I wish everyone very good luck, and I'm happy to be a part of this forum.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much.
Happy to have you. Yes. Anyone who's left? Sheetal, I think you are left.
Myself, Sheetal Vaswan, and I am a postgraduate, and I have an experience of 8 years. And previously, I was working with Agilent Technologies, and now with pneumatic engineers. And as per me, there is no age to start your career with any kind of course. So I'm just looking forward for this, and I don't have any kind of experience in internal auditing. But as per me, auditing is something like to learn everything every day and to understanding the concept of the business, how it goes, and to enhance my communication, leadership skills, and how can I add some value to the business.
Absolutely.
And to exposure in so many areas. That is my perspective and that is my expectation for this particular course.
Wonderful, wonderful, Sheetal. Happy to have you here. So great, guys. I
Thank
think
you
with
so
that,
much.
thank you. So great, guys. With that, I think we know now each other at least. We know 10 of us, 11 of us. We know each other now. Who are there? Which part of the country? So good, folks. So what I was saying is, it's good that we have now 10 members talking about each other, and we know who are the people in the session, which part of the country they stay, which company and sector they're working in, how many numbers of years of experience they have. So all of this will help us to learn from each other, to take the best out of this entire session series, and not only academically getting qualified. I think that's one of the most important part that definitely will clear. There's no doubt about it. But more than that, how we will be getting more advantage of this whole program by connecting with each other, by learning from each other, by bringing in more industry perspectives and examples for the relevant industries. I think those are the key takeaways. Let me tell you that, guys, definitely we are going to clear the CIA program. There's no doubt about it, not even a 1% doubt about it. The only perks of the session is that we're going to learn much more in practical orientation, like most of you people are thinking, the leadership skills, boosting the career, boosting the entire domain altogether. So I think all those things will be covered as part of the session series. So I'll move to the next thing, guys. Happy to have you all. we'll start with understanding the CIA program part wise. So I'll just start with the next part, which is understanding the CIA part one. Um, so we have three parts, guys. So we have the first part, which is essentials of internal auditing. The part two is practice of internal auditing. Part three is business knowledge for internal auditing. Before we get into it, I think this is something which I've already covered the brief introduction about CIA program as part of my introductory session. To just quickly give you a glance, guys, this is the only globally recognized professional qualification. Like you all have said, why you're pursuing it. Let me also try to put more focus and try to read out for you that this is the only globally recognized professional qualification for internal auditors, which is awarded by IIA. IIA is Institute of Internal Auditors, right? So this is very globally recognized. You can work in any country if you have the certification. You will get a lot of weightage if you have this qualification, not only in India, across the world. Trust me, across the world. Okay, and even outside India, the CIA is more considered than being just a basic qualified chartered accountant. Also, let me tell you that. Of course, if you are a CA, have X numbers of years of experience, then and just having a CIA will differentiate. But just having a CA versus CIA is more globally recognized in the internal audit domain across the world. That's what I would like to tell you. It is the flagship certification for internal auditors. And I always recommends that this particular certification is owned and availed by or certified, that most of the internal auditors should get the certification in the CIA. So that's what is recommended by the IIA. There are three parts. We are moving to the three parts that I was talking about. So we have three parts. Part one is essential of internal auditing, where we have 7 units. Okay. Part two is practice of internal auditing, where we have 9 units to cover. We have part three, where we have 14 units to cover. So all these parts are having different level of you can say complexity. So like part one is essentials, which more talks about the basics of internal auditing. Okay, it talks about different foundations of internal auditing. What are the different standards in internal auditing? How, as internal auditor, it is expected to be independent. What should be objectivity? What is our proficiency in this internal audit domain? What we need to take care when we are performing internal audit? The QAIP program. The governance, what is an understanding of governance? What are the roles and responsibilities of a board? What is the roles and responsibilities of internal auditor? What is the roles of responsibility of senior management across governance, risk management, and control areas? We'll understand a lot about control types and frameworks. So when I say control types and frameworks, it includes your POSO framework, the Foreign Corrupt Practices Act framework, the COBIT framework, which is on the IT side, the SOX framework, and so on and so forth. So we'll understand different control frameworks which have been published. We'll understand different control types, different processes, different controls that are linked to those processes, and importance. What are the different risks in each process? All of this is something we are going to cover as part of part one's session series. Okay, so this is 7 units, folks. The next part is on the practice of internal auditing, that how we conduct the internal audit, from engagement planning to the communication of results to the management, is something that is covered in part 2. And part 3 is more about business knowledge for internal auditing. It has 14 units. It has 4 sections, which includes the business acumen, information security, information technology, and financial management. I hope you're clear now with what is in part 1, part 2, and part 3 CIA program. Can I have the answers? Can I please hear out if anyone has any doubt so far? Wonderful, guys. So, like I said, now we are going to focus and talk about more on the part 1, which is essential of internal auditing. Let me also tell you, you all can appear any part. So it is not mandatory that one has to appear part 1 first and then part 2 and then part 3. Anyone can attend any part, part 3 can be first picked up, part 2 can be first picked up, part 1 can be first picked up, anything. But we'll go in the flow. We'll start with part 1, we'll go to part 2, and then we'll go to part 3. Okay. And let me also tell you right away that as per my experience and what I've heard from other fellow members, part 1 is somewhere where the most senior folks, like the most folks who have 10 years, 15 years, 20 years of experience and over that, face the most difficulty to clear the part 1 program. And people who are freshers, the very limited experience on the practical ground face the maximum problem in part 3, which is business knowledge for internal auditing, because there we need a lot of experience practical wise. So but in this session series and part wise session series will cover all the essential element to clear the program, and definitely each parts, and we will learn practically as well. So that's about the brief about the overall CIA part 1 CIA program, including all the 3 parts. I'll move to the next slide, folks. These are the steps that needs to be required to be a CIA certified internal auditor. This is covered as part of my introductory session. My request is please look to those videos. You will have a brief about it. But I'll jump to the next part, which is what are the benefits of being an IA member. Though I've talked about this also in the introductory session, but I would like to tell you in this session, because the next slide is how to be an IA member and how to enroll for the CIA program. So my suggestion is please become the IA member of India. Why the reason is because the examination fee for the CIA program, if you become the IA member, then you will save $674 in completing the CIA certification. For a non-member, the application fee for the program is $230, while the special pricing for IA India is only $86. And similarly, if you see the part-wise examination fee is $395, and the special pricing for India is $209. Okay, so with that you will save $674, which is a significant value. Not only as an IA member you will save this amount, but also there are so many other things that IA India does for its members through trainings, free training sessions, by bringing a community, by bringing in a network, by giving you a lot of resources from a IA monthly magazine to the important articles and blogs that are important for your career. So my strong suggestion is please become IA member if you are not so far. There are different chapters. There will be a Mumbai chapter, there will be a Bangalore chapter, there will be a Delhi chapter. Whoever is at different part of the cities, please enroll to your local chapter so that you can easily connect. So that's my suggestion. The next one is important is now how to basically register yourself for the IA program. That's for the CIA program. So the step one is, as I said, apply for IA India membership. It can be easily done through an online IA India website. So we have the IA India website. The new member enrollment cost is about 5,500 plus GST, and there is an annual renewal fee for 4,000 plus GST. So that's about being an IA India member. Once you have applied for the membership, the step 2 is you will receive a global membership ID from IA India. Generally, it takes 2 weeks to receive this ID. Once you have the global membership ID, you have to go to your IA India account. Like you have to go to your IA account and you have to log into your CCMS, which is Certification Candidate Management System. Under that, you have to update your profile. When you will go to your profile section, you have to upload the proof of identity, which is basically your Aadhaar card or some government ID proof. You have to upload your proof of education. So for pursuing a CIA program, the minimum eligibility criteria is to be graduate. Okay, so you have to have a bachelor degree. So you can upload your documents as a proof of education. Then you have to complete the character reference form. So there will be a character reference form online, which needs to be signed by either a qualified CIA, either your supervisor or your mentor. So either you can get it signed by any CIA, or you can get it certified by your immediate supervisor in the respective organizations you are working with, or you can pass on to us also. We can also complete and approve this character reference process for you. As a step 4, we have to, once this is completed, once the ID is created, once these documents are submitted and you have submitted it, it goes for verification to the global IA. Once they approve it, you are now eligible to register for your exam. So once the registration is done and the application fee is paid and the examination fee is paid, you have to go to the Pearson View tab in your CCMS account, and from there you have to select the examination date and select the examination date nearest to your examination center. Earlier there was a proctor thing available where you can appear from the exam, but at this moment that facility is not provided anymore in India by IIA, and we have to look for the nearest Pearson View center to appear for the exam. Anyone has doubts so far? Before I proceed to the next slides, I'll take a quick pause to hear from you. Okay, so I'll go one by one. So I have two doubts so far. Charan is asking me, will the character reference certification be sent through the mail to the person? Yes. So once you have online applied for the characters reference form, like you have filled the details and then you put in the email ID of the person whom you want to send it for the approver. Once you send it, it will automatically come to the person's email ID, and there he has to approve it or disapprove it. If he approves it, it will automatically gets approved. So that is how it is. I have another question from Vijaya asking is, how is the split of units versus sections differ? So see, sections are the broad sections. If we see, if I go to the previous slides, so in the part one, we have 7 units and 6 sections. So section 1 is foundation of internal auditing, which is one section. Independence, objective. So section 2, which is section 2, 3, and 4 is basically only unit 2 of the GLEM material. So when I say sections are divided into broad sections, and the number of units is the number of chapters in the GLEM study material. Does it make sense, Vijay? Is that does that clear your thoughts? Can I please hear you? Wonderful. So the next question here we have is, just one second. Can we have a gap between step 3 and step 4? Yes, of course, we can have a gap between the step 3 and step 4. We can create the, we can apply for the membership. We can create our CCMS account. And once we have registered for the exam, let me tell you also, guys, once we have registered for the CIA program, we'll have 3 years to complete the whole of the CIA program. But yes, we can always register for the exam. Anytime. It is not necessary. As soon as the profile is updated, we have to immediately register for the exam. And let me also tell you, once you have registered for the exam, you have 6 months to appear for the exam. So even if you have paid the examination fee today, you have 6 months window to complete and appear for the exam. Otherwise, your this fee will be either you have to mandatory appear or you have to apply for the extension. If you apply for the extension, then there is another additional fee for extension, which is about $75 US. Does that answers your query? Sharon, does that answer your query? Guys, you can unmute yourself and also reply. Not necessary you have to go to the chat box. Wonderful. So with that, I hope I've cleared so far whatever the doubts have been. So registration process is mandatory, guys. I believe that you should, if you have made up your mind to pursue the CIA program, you can start this registration process with IIA. VG Learning Destination will definitely help you. You have any doubts about the process, you can reach out to us, and we'll help you with the entire registration process. And it takes some time to complete this things. So my suggestion is utilize this time when you have made up your mind to pursue the CIA program. Okay, so I'll move to the next slides, guys. Now the CIA Part 1 coverage. Someone who have asked me the difference between the sections and the units. So these are the 7 units. If you go to the sections, section 1 was foundation of internal auditing, which is unit 1 of foundation of internal auditing. Section 2 was independence. Section 3 was objectivity. Section 4 was proficiency, due professional care. Section 5 was QIP program. Section 6 was governance as management control. And section 7 was section 6 was fraud risk. So exactly that is how it has been structured here. Here we have unit 1 and unit 2, which are like section 1 to section 4. Section 5, which was governance, risk management, and control, is from unit 3 to unit 6. And then we have section 7, which is fraud, section 6, which is fraud risk, which is unit 7. Okay, So we have 7 units that we have to cover in the part 1 program. I have quickly given the weightage also. If you see unit 1, unit 2, and unit 7, the only 3 units contribute to 65% of the CIA part 1 program. This is again something I have covered already in the introductory sessions. But I will reiterate because this is very, very important. Unit 1, unit 2, unit 7 alone contribute 65% of the CIA part 1 program. My suggestion is do a strategic study. Of course, we'll cover the complete syllabus, but my recommendation is just before the exam, remember the important aspects of unit 3 to unit 6 and do a thorough revision of unit 1, unit 2, and unit 7. Let me also tell you guys, unit 1, unit 2, unit 7 only is 60-70 pages from the GLIM study material. So which means by just reading 60-70 pages, you can cover 65% of the CIA part 1 program. And from unit 3 to unit 6, you have to read about 130 odd pages, and which is only 35%. I'm not saying 35% is less. Of course, to complete your CIA part 1 program or any of the part program, you have to score 80%. So which means that you have to answer, I think 600 out of 7, you have to score 600 out of 750 questions. Sorry, 750, you have to score 600 out of 750 in CIA part 1. There are total 125 questions. So roughly you have to answer 100 right questions to clear your CIA part 1 program. Okay, so that's how we'll go strategically. So we'll put a lot of emphasis in all the units, but we will during the revision portion, we'll put more focus on unit 1, unit 2, unit 7. We should be very thorough, and we should not be giving any incorrect answer in any of those units, so that we are very sure to clear the CIA part 1 program in one go. I'll again put a hold to listen from you. If you have any doubt, please let me know. Anyone has any doubt so far? May I hear you, folks? Wonderful. Himanshu has no doubts. Can we have more answers? Charan have no doubts. Okay, Himanshu which has no doubts. So 3 people very being attentive. Yeah, good Pratik, good Sheetal, wonderful. So we have no doubt so far. Wonderful, folks. So with that, we have done the part 1 coverage. We have understood what is the weightage of different units, how we have to study the CIA part 1 program. Definitely, we are going to clear the part 1 program. Don't be worried. The only thing is how we will practically apply this. That is the best takeaway in the session series. We have to learn how to apply this practically so that we become a better internal auditor, folks. Okay. So now quickly, let's understand what is you will be getting to pursue and to basically to go through during your CIA part 1 study sessions. So I have been informed that you're going to get the printed books for each of the CIA part 1, part 2, part 3, part 3. So you're going to get this printed books for each of these parts. So which means that you can easily study. Then you are going to have unlimited access to the GLIM software for your practice questions. There are about 753 MCQs. So let me tell you guys, this entire CIA sessions or CIA program, you can say, is completely MCQ based. There is no subjective questions. So this is a choice based multiple choice questions you will get in the exam. The only thing is, which is very, very important, is that this questions and answers, these answers will be very confusing. So we have to learn how to eliminate the possible options that have been given in an answer. So that is very, very important, how to eliminate, and that will only come when we have understood the complete study material. We have gone through the complete content. We are confident about our concepts. So that will only come with that. So we have 753 MCQs questions that will be available for your preparations from the GLIM software, which you can practice. You can practice it unit wise, by the way, or once you have gone through it, you can just select all the units and then the random questions comes in from a different units. So you can do it either unit wise or complete for the complete part together. And of course, you will get the recorded sessions of our sessions in your LMS system. You will be provided access to the LMS system post your enrollments. For whoever has done the enrollments, you will get those access IDs. So you can anytime go through these recorded sessions and clarify your concepts. So I hope you're clear with the software that you're going to be made available for your learning and the study material. And trust me, this is sufficient. This is sufficient to clear your CIA Part 1 program. Is that clear, guys? May I know from you? So Vishal, have a query. Do you have a Glim and mobile app? To my knowledge, Vishal, yes, I think you can open it through your web version on the phone, and you can try your MCQs there also. I don't think so that should be a problem. Okay, folks. So I'll continue. Now the next slide is our approach. What is our approach that we are going to cover for going through the session series for completing the CIA Part 1? So folks, we'll be doing 100% coverage of the GLEM study material. So we'll read each of the content that is mentioned in the GLEM book. Then we have the concept clarity with the practical examples. So when we are going through the content, we will take a lot of practical example. We'll make the session very much interactive. So it's not that I'm just going to read out the content for you. I am possibly going to ask you all your opinion. What do you understand? How do you apply practically? And then we will take the study material support to give more clarity in your practical aspects and learning, and bring in best industries expertise examples so that it can help more clarifying your concepts. It can help you to clarify your concepts. Then we will be doing a lot of, as I said, the concept clarity will be done through practical examples. We'll do practical learning to apply on field, such as there is a unit which talks about creating a process map. So we'll do in the study sessions, we'll learn how to create a process map on a Microsoft Visio. So we'll make the sessions not only from exam orientation, I'm again and again saying that, we will learn it from the practical aspects also. My personal view is that we should learn it more practically, so that once we have become the CIA, then also the person whom we are going to work with, the person, either our supervisors, either the client, or either our juniors, anyone should think that yes, after pursuing the CIA program, the person doesn't just have a theoretical knowledge, he also or she also understand it practically. They are applying on the ground. You see the people who are 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, or 15 years, 20 years experience out of the CIA program, they should learn that from so many years where they were going wrong actually. Okay, so how to implement the entire this flagship program of the IA is something that we are going to learn during the session series. Okay, the MCQs, which is very important from exam orientation. The one most important thing that will be a key takeaways slide for you all. There, after each session that we have completed, we'll have the things to remember section, which will have the key words that, okay, this is something I have to remember. Okay, and these things to remember is basically from exam orientation. There are very small and basic concepts that will be confused in the examination. To help you to not get trap of the questions, we have the things to remember and the key takeaway slide, which helps you to remember the key aspects in the units and how do we differentiate things. Then of course, in the every session that we start, we'll do a revision of the previous session, and we'll have the Q&A session separately. I hope we are clear with the approach. Anyone has any doubt on the approach before we proceed further? Himanshu has a question. When we talking of process mapping, are we talking of SOP preparation? No. So Himanshu, SOP preparation is absolutely different. It's more from a process narratives point of view. Process mapping is basically creating a flow chart or a graphical presentation of the entire business value chain. So that is something we are going to learn. So the graphical flow chart, which you may have seen in your practical internal auditing experience as well. Does it make sense? Himanshu, does that resolve your query? Vishal has a query. What about RCM? Vishal, RCM, risk control matrix, is another very, very important aspects of internal audit. We'll cover that as part of our sessions. No worries. We'll throw a lot of light understanding about the risk and control matrix. No worries. Anyone else? So are we good to go? May I know more people to answer? Prateek, Sheetal, Nirvana, Himanshu, Vijay. Are we all good to go? Wonderful, guys. So with that, we have understood our approach section. The next is the study schedule. So the study schedule today we are setting on 2nd of May, and today is the orientation program. So today we'll be completing this orientation program. These are just the tentative timings from 6 in the evening to 9 p.m. in the evening. So we have kept it on the weekend so that a lot of our working professionals doesn't face problem in attending the sessions and have to look into the recorded versions. We would suggest 100% participation in the live session so that the session series altogether could become more interesting. So we have kept it in the evening between 6 to 9. Please try to accommodate during the sessions. So I think Sunday should not be a problem for most of them. Saturday would be a problem for a couple of fellow members because of the office. But my request is, if only for the 5-6 weeks that we are trying to do this, please try to accommodate your schedule in the evening on the Saturday. And I hope these are the tentative timings. Sometimes it may take little extra, sometimes it may take little early also, depending on the unit that we are covering. So we'll have it on the weekends. It is roughly 14 sessions that we will be doing to complete the entire CIA Part 1 program. I hope we are clear with the schedule. Now I'll take just one topic, folks, like one topics to cover so that you understand that how we are going to do the session series. Is that fine? Before I jump into the topic, is that now, are we clear with the critical aspects of the introduction of the CIA program, the different parts that we have, the registration process, what is covered in the part 1, the glimpse software and the study material that we're going to look into, our approach, the schedule. So are we all clear so far before we jump into one unit, and are we excited to start basically this learning of the CIA with the one topic that we're going to cover in today's session? So wonderful. We have 5 people responding. Folks, I need more participation. I need 100% people participating. Can I hear from Namita? Can I hear from Nirvana? Can I hear from even Dipesh? Dipesh is the co-host. So Virja, Charan, Himanshu, I'm reading out everyone's name. Can we all have? So Nirvana is asking what was the question. Sorry, missed it. So I'm saying, Nirvana, that can we start the first topic? I hope you're clear with all the agenda points that we were supposed to cover in today's session. The introduction, understanding of the different parts, the registration process, what is covered in the part 1, the software, the study material that you're going to refer, what will be our approach in covering the CIA part 1 program during the session series, the schedule. And now we are starting one topic for your reference so that you know that how we'll go about the entire understanding part. Are we good to go? Wonderful. So folks, we are starting we are starting our one topic that I would like to choose to, like, this is the first topic even of the unit 1, which is foundation of internal auditing. So basically, understanding IPPF. Let me tell you guys, this is a very, very important element of the entire CIA Part 1 program. Saying that, this is also very, very important for we as internal auditors to know the IPPF framework. Now, if you ask me that how big this framework is or how big this entire thing is, it is not too much. Even if you refer to the complete separate sections of the IPPF standards, so most important in this is the IPPF standards. So if you refer to all of it together, it is hardly 25 pages, which is separately available on the IIA India website as well. So, but this is very, very important to know as from an examination perspective as well as from the practical perspective. So before wasting any more time, let me give you a quick introduction about this topic, IPPF. So folks, IPPF is nothing. It's basically international professional practice framework. Okay, it has 2 elements to it. It has 2 important guidance note. One is mandatory guidance and the other is recommended guidance. Can we all say that together? What does it contains? What are the 2 types of guidance it has? Please unmute yourself, folks. So let's write in the chat box, folks. Nirvana is writing mandatory and recommended. Wonderful. which is writing mandatory and recommended. Wonderful. Okay. So guys, now we understand it. What does it covers? It covers two important parts, which is mandatory guidance and recommended guidance. Now, under the mandatory, there are four things that we have to remember. What are those four things? The one is core principles of internal auditing. So there are 10 principles, 10 core principles that we'll understand as part of the mandatory guidance. We'll understand the definition of internal auditing, which is very, very important for us as professionals and internal auditors to know. So definition of internal auditing, the different types of standards. So we have four types of standards that we will first cover, and then we'll move to the study materials. And then we have the last fourth topic, which is code of ethics. So there are four types of code of ethics: integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, and competency, that we're going to cover as part of the mandatory guidance. It's very, very important, very, very important from examination point of view. And then we have the recommended guidance, under which we have two important things, which is implementation guidance and supplementation guidance, supplemental guidance. I hope we are clear with what is there in mandatory guidance and what is there in recommended guidance. Okay, so now before we jump into understanding of the core principles, definition, code of ethics, I want to give you first of all overview of the standards, which is very, very important. Okay, so let's take an overview of the standards, folks. So I have created a summary for you all. So standards basically there are four types of standards. And before getting into that, again, I will step back and tell you that we as internal auditors should know the standards. We as internal auditors, if someone asks us what are the different standards published by Institute of Internal Auditors, do you even consider that when you're doing internal auditing? And we as professionals having 10 plus years of experience, 15 years of experience, or whatever, like 5 years of experience, we don't know the basic standards. We even don't know what are the different standards or type of standards that have been published by IIA. So as part of the CIA program, this is important, folks. This is important because as part of the CIA program, we should know that these are the different types of standards and try to use them as proficient as possible during our practical internal audit approaches. Okay, so there are four types of standards. The one is attribute standards. Attribute standards, there are total 19 attribute standards. Okay, then we have performance standards. There are 33 performance standards. Then we have interpretation and implementation standards. So let's understand what are these attribute standards now. So basically attribute standards governs. Okay, now we have to remember this. Attribute standards governs the responsibilities, attitudes, and actions of the organization, internal audit activity, and internal auditors, individual internal auditors. So basically attribute standard tell us that this is our responsibility, this is our attitude, this should be our attitude when we are doing the internal audit activity, this should be organization's overall approach towards internal audit activity. What is performance? Basically, performance is basically, it governs the nature of internal auditing, that how an internal auditing needs to be done, and it provides the quality criteria for evaluating the internal audit performance. So basically, how the internal audit needs to be done is governed by performance standard, and then measuring doing the performance evaluation is done through the performance standard. I hope that is clear. So 19 attribute standard is something that we are going to cover in the part 1 program. Performance standard, these are 33 performance standard that is largely covered in part 2 and part 3 of the CIA program. So we only very few, like 3 or 4 performance standards comes in between the unit 3 to unit 7, which we will be covering. But other than that, the most largest focus in the performance standard is in the part 2 program. Okay, interpretation standards are basically clarifications for terms and conditions in the attribute and performance standard. So basically attribute standard will tell that this needs to be done. Okay, performance standard will tell that this is how the internal audit activity will be carried, plus this is how we have to evaluate the performance of the internal audit activity. Okay, interpretation standards will basically clarify the terms and conditions that are mentioned in attribute and performance standard. So suppose attribute standard says that ABC needs to be done. Interpretation standard will say what is ABC, what is to be done. Okay, so it will further elaborate what is written in attribute and performance standard. Implementation standard expand upon the other category of standards. Again, guys, this is important from examination point of view. There may be a possible question which says that which standard expand upon other category of standards. What will be your answer in such a case? Can I have the answer, please? Implementation. Wonderful. Himanshu is writing implementation. Anyone else? Nirvana implementation. Wonderful. So exactly, guys. So implementation standard expand upon other category of standards, that is attribute standards and performance standards. Basically, implementation standard provides requirements that are applicable to the assurance and consulting services. So when we are performing any audit, implementation standard basically says that how it needs to be done. Okay. So I hope now we are clear. We have total 4 types of standards: attribute standard, performance standards, interpretation standards, and implementation standards. Under attribute standards, we have 19 standards. Okay, now you will ask me probably, sir, do we need to remember all these 19 attribute standards? So attribute standards, basically the series is through thousand series, 1000 series, performance is 2000 series. So do we need to remember all the numbers of the standards? No. Are these very big voluminous standards like we have learned in this chartered accountancy course or any other certification? So I'll say no, no, folks. These are very to the point, concise, precise standards, very focused, not very large in volume, and we can easily cover that. We don't have to remember it by heart. We have to understand it by logic. Question examination is not going to ask you which is standard 1200, what is standard 1100, or so on and so forth. The examiner is going to test you on the understanding of your standards. Okay. So that is about the standards, folks. This is the basically the list of 19 attribute standards, which covers your purpose, authority, and responsibility as a 1000 series. So if you see everything as part of the attribute standard is 1000 series, right? So we have purpose, authority, and responsibility. So what is the purpose of internal auditor, internal audit activity? Who gives us authority to perform the internal audit activity? What is our responsibility as internal auditors? So this is something that we are going to learn. In fact, this is something that we'll be covering today also. So 1000 is that. Then we have 1010, which is recognizing mandatory guidance in the internal audit charter. Then we have 1100, which covers independence and objectivity. 1110, organization independence, direct interaction with the board, CAE roles beyond internal auditing, individual objectivity, impairment to individual or objectivity. So this is all this 19 standards is that we are going to cover as part of the part 1 sessions. Okay. To give you a surprise element, folks, this entire attribute standards, 19 attribute standards, will just cover in the first 2 units. So all this 19 standards is covered in the first 2 units, which is study unit 1 and study unit 2. And that's why that contributes individually about 55% of the CIA part 1 program. Does it make sense to you? Can I have the answers, please? Are you all with me so far?
Yes, we understand.
Wonderful. So now I will quickly go to the main content of the GLEM. We'll cover the IPPF understanding from the study material. Then we'll do some sample questions. Very quickly, we'll cover 2-3 questions. And with that, we will leave the session open for any further questions if you all have as part of this orientation program. So I'll jump to the GLEM study unit, folks. My purpose here is to cover the complete go through the GLEM study material so that we are very confident when you are going for the exams. So it is very important for us to have a thorough understanding and coverage of the GLEM content, because with that, it not only helps us to answer the questions appropriately, it helps us to build the confidence also. It will help us to build the confidence. Yes, we have gone through the content. We have done adequate practice for the available questions and MCQ questions. We have understood the concept clarity. We have the things to remember sections, that what we need to remember, how do we differentiate between key things as part of the entire study material. So these are most important learnings to clear your part 1 program. So we'll cover everything. Okay. So we are starting with now the GLEM material. Okay. So the first topic, like it is understanding about the IPPF framework, so which is International Professional Practice Framework. Folks, we are now covering the first thing, which is mission. So what is mission as per the Institute of Internal Auditors? For internal audit activity, what is the mission of IIA? So let us understand. The IIA defines the mission of internal audit as follows. To enhance and protect organization value by providing risk-based and objective assurance, advice, and insight. What do we understand? So this is something that we do when we do internal audit assignment, right? We try to enhance and protect the organization value by providing a risk-based and objective assurance advice and insight. So we look into the process, we understand the process, we try to enhance and protect the organization value. So organization value will be what? To provide the customers, you can say to provide the customers uh, the right set of services, the right set of products, the quality products. So suppose we are doing a quality audit, our outlook should be that when we are looking into the quality controls, we should be looking into those aspects that the quality manual that the organization has prepared, we are complying to that quality manual, right? So what I'm trying to say, as any internal audit exercise or any internal audit engagement that we are trying to do, so what we are trying to do is we enhance and protect organization value by providing a risk based, what can go wrong in the process. So by providing a risk based and objective assurance, so we go through the documents, we cover the complete scope areas with objectivity, and we provide our advice and insights that what is going wrong in the process. So and how we can add value to the organization and enhance the process efficiency. So that is our mission basically, which IIA says, to enhance and protect organization value by providing a risk-based and objective assurance advice and insight. Facilitating the achievements of the mission is the IPPF. Okay, the IPPF organizes the IIA authoritative guidance so that it is accessible and strengthens the IIA as a global standard setter. The IPPF contains two things, which is mandatory guidance and recommended guidance. So now we have already covered this picture, which is mandatory guidance have four things: core principles, definition, standard, code of ethics, and recommended guidance have two things, which is implementation guidance and supplemental guidance. See, it is also given in the glimpse study material a success tip that knowledge of the IPPF is important for understanding and distinguishing among the elements of the authoritative guidance on internal auditing. But it is more important that you understand and can accurately apply the content contained in the IPPF. Part 1 and 2 of the CIA exam primarily test understanding and application of IPPF content. Very, very important from your overall exam perspective, both for your part 1 and part 2. Part 1, it will test you on attribute standards. Part 2, it will test you on performance standards. Okay. Now we are starting first thing, which is mandatory guidance. Adherence to the mandatory guidance is essential for the professional practice of internal auditing. So we as internal auditors has to mandatorily adhere to the standards, adhere to the definition of internal auditing, adhere to the code of ethics, adhere to the core principles that is defined under the part of mandatory guidance. Okay. The mandatory guidance consists of four elements: the core principles for the professional practice of internal auditing, the definition of internal auditing, the code of ethics, and the standards. Now there are 10 core principles. If you ask me, so do I need to remember all those core principles? My suggestion is no. Please don't try to learn it. Try to understand. Being an internal auditor, you also know that you have to have a logical mindset. You have to have a good business acumen to be a good internal auditor. Exactly, guys. We have to understand it logically. We have to clear the concepts. We have to have a good understanding. We don't have to do any sort of thorough learning with that point of view. Okay, we don't have to memorize it. We have to do the concept clarity. We have to go with the method of concept clarity. Okay, so now the core principles, the 10 core principles that we are going to understand now. The core principles are the basis of internal audit effectiveness. The internal audit that we are performing is effective. So there are 10 core principles that help us to tell that our overall internal audit activity is effective. The internal audit function is effective if all principles are present and operating effectively. So if even one core principle is missing, then you cannot say that our overall internal audit activity is working effectively. So it is mandatory that all principles are working fine. Then only we can say that overall internal audit function is effective. Is that clear? Are we clear so far, guys? Or anyone has any doubt? Can I have quickly response from your side? Wonderful. So like I'm going back to the core principles. So the 10 core principles, the following are those. One is demonstrate integrity. So of course, we as internal auditors should demonstrate integrity. Demonstrate competence and due professional care. We are competent. We are taking due care when we are performing the internal audit activity. Objective is objective and free from undue influence. We should be independent in whatever we are doing. We should be objective. we should not perform as internal auditors anything which is under the influence of uh, senior management, or be it like where we violate the objectivity, or where we violate the independence. Aligns with strategies, objectives, and risk of the organization. So something that we are doing aligns with the strategies of the organization, the objective that the organization is trying to achieve, and the risk that the organization is perceiving to mitigate. Is appropriately positioned and adequately resourced. This is very, very important, guys. We as internal auditors has to be appropriately positioned. Okay, we should be adequately resourced. We should not be like, we should not do not have a limited resources, that one person doing so much of job that he cannot cover the entire scope. So we should be appropriately positioned and adequately resourced. Then we should demonstrate quality and continuous improvement. We should demonstrate quality in whatever we do and do continuously improve. So like Vidya said, I want to continuously learn. So that's one scope of continuous improvement in what we are doing. Okay, communicate effectively, be it oral or verbal, oral or written. Provides risk-based assurance. We should provide risk-based assurance. Provide insights. We are proactive and future focused. So our internal audit function activity should be providing insights to the management, provides a proactive measures to mitigate the risk of what can go wrong in the different processes, and should be future focused. Okay, we should promote the overall organization improvement. So those are the 10 core principles of internal auditing. So that we need to remember. I hope you're clear about these 10 principles. We don't have to learn, but we have to just understand them and remember the key things. Okay, so I'll just quickly revise it for you. Okay, so Sheetal has some query. Please, Sheetal, go ahead. Vishal is asking what is insight. I'll come on that. Okay, mistake. Okay, so Vishal, you are asking what is insight. So insight is basically, you can see is that suppose you have given a review of HR and payroll process. Okay, so you are looking into the process, you are understanding the process and giving the insights in that process. Okay, what can go wrong? Giving the insights of the complete business value chain, that this is how the things are working and these are the areas where the things can go wrong. Okay, so the risk and what is the control that you want to put in place, or what is the existing control, how that control can fail, and due to which what can go wrong to the company or the organization, or how does it going to impact. So you're going to give insights to the management, to the process owners, to the stakeholders basically. I hope that is clear. Okay. So Vishal is asking, how is it different from promotes organizational improvement, which is very, very good idea, very, very good, in fact, question. So see, this all together, this core principles all together helps you to tell that overall internal audit activity is effective. Okay, when it says is insightful, it is talking about, okay, it is talking about the insights of the process. Then when it says promotes organizational improvement, so overall this internal audit activity, the ultimate goal is it should promote the organization improvement. It should add value. If you will go through the definition also, it is overall adding value to the organization. Okay, so promotes organizational improvement is ultimately, if you will give the right insights to the management, it will promote the organizational improvement. Do you get it? Does it make more sense to you? Is that clear now? Wonderful. So Nirvana is asking now, please explain appropriately positioned. Nirvana will understand this in more detail when we will be covering the next part of the subunit. But let me answer you right now. See, appropriately positioned is very, very important. Okay, we as internal auditors, I'll tell you why. See, when we do internal audit activity, the first thing is we ask a lot of data and information where we should have adequate access to the resources of the company. Like when I say adequate resources, we should get time from the process owners. We should have unlimited access to the records of the company, so that we can look into the data point and then can give our feedback and our opinion. Overall, give our reasonable assurance to the management that what is our observations basically. So appropriately position is when we will understand the internal audit charter part. We will know that how internal audit charter help us to be appropriately positioned. When we talk to the internal auditors, that okay, we as internal auditors, what are roles and responsibilities, we have to have the appropriate positioning in the company so that we can ask for the requisite documents. We should have the authority to ask for the requisite documents, and then we can perform the internal audit activity. And that's the whole purpose of being appropriately positioned. This can be achieved when we have the internal audit charter approved, which help us to basically gives us authority to have unlimited access to the books and records of the company, so that we can look into it and then we can give our opinion. Does it make sense? Does it clear your query? Okay, wonderful. She says yes. Okay, so now we have understood the 10 core principles of the internal auditing. We'll quickly start with definition of internal auditing. Any volunteer who want to talk about their understanding of internal auditing, what do you understand by internal auditing, or as per you, what is internal auditing? What are the key things that we do? Before that, Sheetal, any query? Sheetal has some query. Let me just check. Sheetal, please go ahead. You have again raised your hand. I hope you're not going to write by mistake, sir. No query. Please go ahead, guys. Okay. Any volunteer who would like to come up and say, what do you understand or what as per you is internal auditing? Himanshu says to provide value addition through assurance and consulting. Okay. Anyone else? May I have Vishal? Okay, which is, I think, independent review of various processes to mitigate the risk. Wonderful. Can I have more answers, please? Nirvana, Vishal, Sheetal, Prateek, Charan. Vishal says it's risk assessment and mitigation and value addition in process. Okay. Namita says mitigate the risk of potential fraud or any misstatement in financials. Okay. Charan says understanding the organization structure and process and provide the required assurance and improve the process. Okay, wonderful. Nirvana says internal auditing is an independent evaluation of the process of the company to identify the risk within the process and helps the company to mitigate the same. Okay. Vijay says stakeholders place reliance for an organization which has good IA team. Okay. I think that's good overall, guys. Overall, guys, what you have responded is precisely what we do as internal auditors and what is expected out of us. Just 1 second. Prateek says to access the internal control and provide reasonable assurance that controls are effective. Okay. So largely what you have said is correct. We will try to understand what IIA says, how IIA has defined internal auditing, and all this one word is very important, guys. Let me tell you, each word written in the definition of internal auditing is important, and throughout this part 1 program, we will understand and understand almost everything that is written in definition of internal auditing. Okay. So let's start with what is IIA giving you, providing you the definition of internal auditing. So the definition of internal auditing is a concise statement of the role of the internal audit activity in the organization. Internal auditing is an independent. Okay. So I will focus on the words that we have to remember. Internal auditing is an independent, objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value. Okay. I'll repeat, add value. Independent, objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value and improve an organization's operations. Okay. It helps an organization accomplish its objectives by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of risk management, control, and governance process. Okay. So let's try and understand. So one thing is internal auditing is an independent activity. So which is unbiased. We should be unbiased, or we should not be influenced by someone. So whatever we are trying to do, it should be independent. The auditing activity, internal audit activity has to be independent. Okay. Then we have to have objective assurance and consulting activity. So there are 2 types of assignment that we do. One is assurance and other is consulting. We'll understand that also. So assurance is where basically we have 3 stakeholders. One is the users, basically the stakeholders, they will be referring to our report, which is usually the top management in the board and the audit committee. Then we have auditors like we who are going to perform the audit. And then we have auditees or the process owners whose function or whose areas we are going to audit. Okay. So in assurance, we have three stakeholders largely. And what our role is, basically, as per the defined scope, we give reasonable assurance whether the controls are working effectively or not, or what are possibly the key risk areas in that process, or what is going wrong, or what are the best industry practices that can be implemented by the organization to further improve. So basically, we give reasonable assurance. Okay. Consulting is where there are basically, it's a recommendatory nature where the client or the process owners or any stakeholders requesting for our guidance. So consulting, usually we have two stakeholders. One is the process owners, the other is basically the auditor, or you can say internal audit function, wherein we are trying to guide them the best industry practices, and we are trying to give them consulting. We're trying to them how they can improve in the process. Okay. So assurance is where we do actually the auditing, due diligence, look into the compliance part. Consulting is more from the guidance perspective. Okay. So internal auditing is what? It's an independent, objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value. So whatever we do, we try to add value and improve the organization operations. Okay. See, this word add value, I think all of us as professionals would have heard from our seniors that how do we add value to the stakeholders? What is our internal audit report is going to add value to the process owners? How are we adding value to our team? How are we adding value to the organization? How are we adding value to the client? So add value is something that we have to remember. Anything that comes in examination from an internal audit definition perspective, we have to remember the word add value. Okay. So independent, objective assurance and consulting activity designed to add value and improve an organization organization operations. It helps an organization accomplish its objectives by bringing a systemic discipline approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of risk management, control, and governance process. If you see study unit 3, study unit 4, study unit 5, and study unit 6, we are going to understand all this. Study unit 3, governance. We'll understand what is governance. What is the role of internal auditor in governance? What is the role of board in governance? What is the role of senior management in governance? Likewise, we'll understand what is risk management. What is the role of internal auditor in risk management? What is the role of board in risk management? What is the role of senior management in risk management? And similarly, as part of the controls, we'll understand what is the control, what are the control types and frameworks. We'll understand the application of control for each different business process and value chains, which includes like P2P, O2C, H2R, record to report, fixed assets, petty cash, and so on and so forth, finance area. We'll understand what are the different controls, what are the different areas which can go wrong. Okay, so I hope now we are clear with the definition of internal auditing and the core principles. So we have covered the two aspects of mandatory guidance. Are we clear so far, guys? Before we proceed into the next one, which is standards, what we have already covered, we'll quickly revise that. Are we all clear so far? Vishal is asking, is there any difference in assurance and internal audit? Vishal, internal audit is part of the assurance engagements. I hope that's clear. Okay, so I think we are clear so far. I'll proceed further. The detailed text of the code of ethics is in subunit 1.3. So we'll understand the code of ethics in the subsequent part of the subunit. Okay. We'll understand the standards that we've already covered in the presentation also. The standard normally known as the international standard for the professional practice of internal auditing. So these standards are called basically international standards. These are international standards for the professional practice of internal auditing. So the following four purposes, there are four purposes of these standards, guys. Okay. The first one is guide adherence with the mandatory elements of the IPPF. So what is that you need to adhere to? Okay. And then second is provide a framework for performing and promoting a broad range of value-added internal auditing services. So overall, giving a framework, how to perform, how to promote the broad range of value-added internal auditing services that we do. Establish the basis for the evaluation of internal audit performance. How do we evaluate the internal auditor's performance? Okay. So the performance standard help you to do that. Foster improved organization process and operations. So these are the four purposes of standards. International standards for the professional practice of internal auditing. Then, as I said, there are four types of standards. Again, see, it is also clearly mentioned in the GLIM material also that the standards are vital to the practice of internal auditing, but CIE candidates need not memorize them. However, the principles they establish should be thoroughly understood and appropriately applied, like I've already said, right? Now, attribute standard, folks. Attribute standards are numbered in the thousands, govern the responsibilities, attitudes, and actions of the organization, internal audit activity, and the people who serve as internal auditors. Okay, so overall internal audit activity function, what we do, how we should do, okay, and the people who serve as individual internal auditors. So we as internal auditors who serve the internal audit function, it governs attribute standards, govern the responsibilities, the attitudes and actions that we have to carry during our internal audit engagements. Okay, so then we have attribute standard 1000 talks also about the purpose, authority, and responsibility. So the purpose, authority, and responsibility of internal audit activity must be formally defined in the internal audit charter. As part of the subunit 1, in the later part of this subunit, we'll understand what is internal audit charter, how it helps us to provide the how it describes the purpose of internal audit activity, how it gives us the authority to perform the internal audit activity, what are the responsibilities that are defined in the internal audit charter. So the purpose, authority, and responsibility of the internal audit activity must be formally defined in the internal audit charter, consistent with the mission of the internal audit and the mandatory elements of the IPPF. I hope you all are clear with the mandatory elements. What are the 4 things in mandatory elements? Can anyone tell from the participants? What are the 4 things covered in the mandatory elements? I'll ask Prateek, please go ahead. Prateek, are you with us? Providing guidance. So no, what are the 4 things that are covered in mandatory guidance? No, Sheetal says attribute standard, performance standard, interpretation, implementation. These are 4 types of standards. Okay, coming back, Vishal says the 4 things that are part of mandatory guidance is definition, the core principles. Okay, what else? The standards. Okay, what else? Core principles, definitions, standards, and code of ethics. Completely completed that, Vijaya. Wonderful. So with that, now we understand, guys. So that's the reason you have to continue to participate in the sessions, guys. So mandatory guidance cover 4 things we have to remember. The core principles. How many core principles? Can anyone tell? How many core principles? Sheetal says 10. Wonderful. So definition of internal auditing, we all know. Okay. So then we also know the standards. Now what? Okay. So now still I'm receiving response 10. Okay. Nirvana says 19. 19 are attribute standards. Sheetal says earlier attribute standard, performance standard, interpretation, and implementation. Sheetal, these are 4 different types of standards which is covered under the standards. Okay. So mandatory guidance covers standards under which these are the 4 different types of standards. And code of ethics. So code of ethics, there are 4 types of code of ethics that we'll cover later, which includes integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, and competency. The CAE must periodically review the internal audit charter and present it to the senior management and the board for approval. So this will be covered as part of the internal audit charter content when we're going to cover that. So then we have performance standard, folks. Performance standard numbered in the 2000 govern the nature of the internal auditing and provide quality criteria for evaluating the internal audit functions performance. Performance standards also appear in the boxes with green highlighting example below. So performance standard example is 2120 risk management. The internal audit activity must evaluate the effectiveness and contribute to the improvement of risk management processes. Okay, so this is expected out of internal audit activity. Then we have interpretations. We have already covered what is interpretation. Basically, interpretation clarifies the terms and conditions. We have to remember interpretation standards clarify the terms and concepts referred to in attribute and performance standards. Interpretation appears in boxes with blue highlighting. Interpretation standard, again, one example is given. The internal audit charter is a formal document. So internal audit charter, there's something which is written in attribute and performance standard. The interpretation standard will clarify. Okay, the internal audit charter is a formal document that defines the internal audit activity, purpose, authority, and responsibility. The internal audit charter establishes the internal audit activity position within the organization, including the nature of the chief audit executive's functional reporting relationship with the board, authorize access to the records, personal and physical properties relevant to the performance of engagement and defines the scope of internal audit activities. Final approval of the internal audit charter resides with the board. So guys, this is completely part of the internal audit charter, which we'll later cover. It is just one example of interpretation standards. So there is a word which is written in a standard, which is either attribute standard or performance standard. It will further elaborate it. That is all about it. Okay. So for example, attribute standard here is 1000. It says purpose, authority, and responsibility. It used the word internal audit charter. Okay. So basically, interpretation standards further clarify the terms and conditions that is mentioned in the attribute standard. So attribute standard 1000, and which is also interpretation of that standard, which is 1000. The internal audit charter is what is this complete document. Okay, are you able to understand how it get links? Attribute standard and performance standards basically tell what needs to be done. Okay, it has different governance thing. So attribute standards governs the internal audit function and the internal auditors. Performance standards tells how the governs how the internal audit activity needs to be done, and how do we evaluate whether the internal audit activities or the function is performing well or not. Interpretation standard clarifies the terms and conditions that is mentioned in the attribute and performance standards. Are we clear with it? Are you all clear with it? Himanshu says yes. Vishal says yes. Sheetal Vijay, yes. Wonderful. So we are clear with this now. Now then we have the implementation standards, which we have already we remember this, that implementation standards expand upon the individual attribute or performance standards by providing the requirements applicable to assurance or consulting services. Implementation standards appear in boxes with gray. Implementation standard, again, one example is given. Internal audit activity must be free from interference in determining the scope of internal auditing, performing work, and communicating results. The CAE must disclose such interference to the board and discuss the implications. So this is implementation standards, which expand upon the other category of standards. So if you see above, this was attribute, then we have interpretation, then we have a implementation standard, which is for 1110 attribute. So 1110 is the attribute standards, which will talk about purpose, authority, and stuff like that. So internal audit activity must be free from interference. So implementation standard expand upon the attribute standard and says that internal audit activity must be free from interference in determining the scope of internal auditing. So we as internal auditors should be free to determine the scope that we want to look into, perform the work, and communicate the results. We should not get influence. We should not get pressure from the management. Suppose you have identified an observation which is critical and which can impact the organization objective. We should have a free hand to report it to the board. We should not be pressurized. Suppose the CAE must disclose such interference. Suppose the senior management is interfering. In that case, we have to disclose such interference to the board and discuss the implications. Okay. So guys, this is important. The core principles and the definition of internal auditing are encompassed in the code of ethics and the standards. Thus, conformance with the code and the standards demonstrate conformance with all the mandatory elements of the IPPF. What do we understand by this? The core principles, the 10 core principles and the definition of internal auditing is already encompassed in the code of ethics and standards. So standards and code of ethics together cover the core principles and the definition of internal auditing. So if we are complying to the standards, if we are complying to the code of ethics, we can give a conformance that we are complying to the IPPF framework. Okay. This is very, very important, folks. Again, when we will understand, when we will cover study unit 1 and study unit 2 as part of the QAIP program, which is Quality Assurance Improvement Program. This is one thing which we will remember, and there are possible questions from the exam that will come, that when can we as internal auditor can give conformance that we are complying with the IPPF framework. So in that case, conformance can be given when we are complying to the code of ethics and the standards. Okay, I hope this is clear so far. So then we have recommended guidance, guys. The pronouncement that constitutes recommended guidance have been developed by the IAA through a formal approval process. They describe practices for effective implementation of the core principles, the definition of internal auditing, the code of ethics, and the standards. The two recommended elements of the IPPF are implementation guidance, IG, and supplemental guidance. So these are the two things. Whenever we are going to cover the attribute standards, we'll in the later part of the units, we will First cover the attribute standards, then we will read the interpretation guidance, then we'll read the implementation guidance also. Okay. So I hope guys now we are clear with overall the mandatory elements of the IPPF framework, the recommended part, 4 things in mandatory guidance, the core principles, definition of internal auditing, the standards, 4 types of standards, attribute, performance, interpretation, implementation, and the code of ethics. The 4 types of code of ethics also: integrity, objectivity, confidentiality, competency. Okay. So recommended in guidance, we have 2 recommended guidance. One is implementation guidance and the second is supplemental guidance. I hope we are clear with now overall understanding of the IPPF framework. We'll cover one more part, which is purpose, authority, and responsibility of the internal audit activity. What is our purpose? What is our responsibility as internal auditors? And what is our authority? Who gives us authority to perform the internal audit activity? Are we all clear so far? Can I please have the answers? So Himanshu is asking, does implementation means the risk associated with the internal audit charter? Himanshu, I'm not clear with your question. Can you please repeat that or further elaborate it? Folks, my encouragement is please ask as many as questions as possible, because your questions can actually help clarity to other fellow members as well. So please don't hesitate to ask questions. Please ask as many questions as possible. Okay. So when we are drafting internal audit charter, does implementation standard will apply? That's Himanshu's question. So Himanshu, I'll tell, internal audit charter is part of the attribute standard. Implementation standard will give the further guidance that how internal audit charter can be prepared. Does it make sense? Okay, great. So folks, with that, we have understood the IPPF framework. The one important part of it is purpose, authority, and responsibility of the internal audit activity. So now we are going to understand what is the purpose, who gives us the authority, and what is the responsibility of us. Purpose as defined in the IIA glossary. So this is basically purpose as part of the definition of the internal audit activity. So the purpose is exactly the same as defined in the IIA glossary. The purpose of the internal audit activity is to provide independent, objective assurance and consulting services designed to add value and improve an organization operations. The internal audit activity helps an organization accomplish its objectives by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of governance, risk management, and control processes. For the standards, assurance services. Now we will understand the difference between assurance and consulting. Okay. So per the standards, assurance services involve the internal auditor objective assessment of evidence to provide opinion or conclusion regarding an entity, operations, functions, process, system, or other subject matters. Accordingly, the IIA glossary defines assurance services as an objective examination of evidence for the purpose of avoiding an independent assessment on governance, risk management, and control process for the organization. The nature and scope of an assurance engagement are determined by the internal auditor. There are 3 parties, as I have already said. There are 3 parties in the assurance services or assurance engagement. The process owners, that is a person or group directly involved with the entity, operation, function, process, system, or other subject matter. Basically, the process owner for whose area we are going to audit. Basically, the internal auditor, like we, the person or group making the assessment, and the user, the person or group using the assessment, the senior management, the board, the audit committee, the regulators. Okay, so these are the users who will use our internal audit report. Okay, so these are generally, there are 3 parties. Assurance services include performing financial, performance, compliance, system security, and due diligence engagements. Okay, so like one of our friend asked, internal audit. Internal audit will be part of the assurance engagement or assurance services. Okay, assurance services will include other financial due diligence, tax due diligence, or other due diligence engagements that we do. Looking into the compliance management of the company, whether the company is complying to all the respective regulatory frameworks. Such sort of engagements are usually giving assurance. We are going to give finally the opinion that yes, you are complying to so many based on our assessments or based on our internal audit engagement, we are giving our opinion that this is where things can go wrong, or this is how much you are complied based on the sample basis. So what I'm trying to say is assurance services include performing financial performance, compliance, system security, and due diligence sort of engagements. And now we'll understand consulting services. Consulting services, as I said, are more from advisory and guidance nature. So it's advisory nature and are generally performed at a specific request of an engagement client. Accordingly, the IA glossary defines consulting services as activities intended to add value and improve an organization governance, risk management, and control processes without the internal auditor assuming management's responsibility. Okay. So basically, under assurance services, risk management, control, and governance is the responsibility of the management. They have to implement the control. They have to put the necessary control. We as internal auditors has to evaluate it. Okay. But in consulting services, we doesn't presume that this is management responsibility, because we are not giving any assurance. We are rather giving guidance. We are rather giving advice how they can improvise, how they can, how with our advice, our insights, they can add value in their processes. Okay, by helping them with the best industry practices. The nature and scope of the consulting engagement are subject to agreement with the engagement client. Okay, so the nature and scope in the assurance was decided by us. Okay, as internal auditors, what are the areas that we want to look into? But the nature and the scope of the consulting engagement are subject to agreement with the engagement client, where they want our advice. There are generally two parties in consulting services. One is the internal auditor, the person or group offering the advice. When performing consulting services, the internal auditor should maintain objectivity and not assume management's responsibility. The engagement client, that is the person or group seeking and receiving the advice. Okay. Consulting services including providing counsel, advice, facilitation, and training wise. I hope now we have cleared the difference between assurance services and the consulting services that we do. Then we have authority. So the support of management and the board is crucial when inevitable conflicts arises between the internal audit activity and the department or function under review. Thus, the internal audit activity should be empowered to require auditees to grant access to all the records, personal and physical properties relevant to the performance of every engagement. A formal charter for the internal audit activity that defines the internal audit activity purpose, authority, and responsibility must be adopted, and it should contain a grant of sufficient authority. Final approval of the charter resides with the board. So exactly what I was telling you guys a couple of minutes back, that there is an internal audit charter that is developed that gives us the authority that we can have unlimited access to the records of the company. It also gives us authority that where to approach, whom to approach in case there is a conflict that arises. The internal audit charter is ultimately approved by the board. Okay, so this is very crucial also, folks, because sometimes in our practical when we do internal audit engagements, sometimes the process owner says that this is a confidential information, we can't share it to the internal auditors. Suppose it's a pricing of the products, how the pricing is created for the products for any FMCG industry or any manufacturing industry, even service industry. So any industry, if we are talking about, the pricing is very, very confidential in nature, how the price is derived for a product or service. So in that case, which is the charter, which is the document that is going to give us the authority? Yes, we can look into how the pricing is created and see if there is the company is losing some aspects, is not concentrating on some aspects, or some aspects has been loosed out when they're deriving the pricing, which is leading to the possible loss to the company. So that document is internal audit charter. Is that clear? Which document gives us authority? Can I have the answers, please? Okay, internal audit charter. Wonderful, guys. So this is very, very important. Okay. Then finally, the responsibility. The internal audit activity responsibility is to provide the organization with assurance and consulting services that would add value and improve the organization operations. Specifically, the internal audit activity must evaluate and improve the effectiveness of the organization governance, risk management, and control process. This is our responsibility. With that, we have completed the first topic of understanding the IPPF framework. I hope all of you have understood the IPPF framework now as part of this orientation program and understanding the IPPF session. So I hope you're clear. Is anyone has any doubt so far before we jump back to our PPT? Can I have more answers, please? Are we all clear with what we have learned so far? Okay, wonderful. So great participation, guys. I must say it's a great participation. I'm going back to the presentation now once again. So now quickly, let's since we have understood the IPPF framework, there are 3 sample and illustrative questions for you, and you all have to answer. And I am assuming that all of you will give 100% correct answer. I want all the 10 participants to give the answer for it. So we are starting with first question, which is which standard expand upon the other category of standards? Is it in performance standards, attribute standard, implementation standards? All of the choices are correct. Please go ahead, guys. So I have 3, 4, okay, 5, 6, 7. I still have someone left, guys. We have 7 people answering the questions. Great. So everyone has answered now. So C is implementation is standard is correct. So very, very good. Good, guys. The next one is the purpose of the internal audit activity can be best described as adding value to the organization, provide additional assurance regarding fair presentation of financial statements, expressing an opinion on the adequate design and functioning of the system of internal control, assuring the absence of any that would materially affect the financial statements. May I know your answers? Wonderful. 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 Wonderful, guys. All of you have answered correct. Wonderful. So add value that comes from the definition of internal auditing, right? So this is how we will remember. We will remember the key words when we are covering the study material, folks, so that we can answer the right. We can choose the right option from the Q&A. Okay, from the MCQ question. The last one. The standards consist of 3 types of standards. Which standard apply to the characteristics of providers of internal audit services now? Is it implementation? Is it performance? Is it attribute, or is it independence? Please go ahead. Okay, we have 2 answers already. 3, 4, 5. Wonderful, guys. All of you have given 100% correct answers. Wonderful. So it is attribute standards which apply to the characteristics of provider of internal audit services as an organization wide, as well as to us as individual auditors. So with that, we have understood the IPPF program. We have going back to the agenda slide. So in the last 2 hours, we have covered the introduction. We have covered the CIA program part-wise understanding. We have covered the registration process, how you will do and register yourself for the CIA certification. What are the different subunits we are going to cover in part 1, the glimpse software and the study material that you're going to refer during the session series and for your preparation for the exam. What will be our approach? So we have covered the content. Okay, we have taken some practical examples. Okay, and then we have discussed some MCQ questions during the sessions, and of course as a homework it will be for you to practice as many as question bank possible. So once we have completed the unit 1, you can go and log into your GLEM software and choose unit 1 and appear for all the questions. So you will get more confidence that where you are going wrong or where you are going correct. So that is how we have to do it. Then the schedule, I hope we are clear with the schedule. We have understood the IPPF framework. Regarding the get in touch, you can respectively reach out to VG Learning Institute destination. I have been informed that there will be a WhatsApp group that will be created for all your queries, and by Monday you should have it, which is tomorrow. With that, I would like to end this orientation program. And I will leave the forum for open Q&A for you. If anyone has any queries, I will be more than happy to respond in the next 5 minutes. Please go ahead. Yes, Himanshu, I'll be requesting for self-unmute option in the next sessions, because I personally feel that it has to be more participative. So we'll do it. We'll do the sessions more live. and more participative in nature. So I'll be discussing this back with IT team. No worries. Anyone else? Vishal is asking login. Vishal, can you please elaborate your query? Login for? Okay, Vishal, so you will be getting a software to log in for Glim. And these are administrative things, and I'm sure you can reach out to the Spock from VG Learning Destination. They will definitely assist you with everything from your login to your software. Even they will help you in the registration process. If you still have any query, you can post on the WhatsApp group that will be created, and we will help and resolve you there. Okay. So great, guys. I think that's a great start. Vijaya, thank you for your feedback. Then looking forward to in the next sessions, folks. Wish you all the luck. Please stay safe, stay healthy. Wish your family stays safe and healthy. Please take care during this pandemic time. Looking forward to see you in the subsequent sessions. Uh, Keep the sessions more participative. Take it from a practical learning perspective and do implement in our practical internal audit practice professions. Looking forward to see you all in the next sessions. Thank you so much for your time. Happy weekend. Take care. Bye.